it took me a while to even admit that I hadn't accomplished this thing, because Wits is all over my social media profiles. It's on LinkedIn, it's on Twitter, it's on Facebook. So there's an assumption that she graduated. But the ugliness of the matter is that I hadn't graduated.
This article that you recently released, LinkedIn, you titled it 13 going on 31. From the little that we've picked up, from the text, it took you almost a decade to get your degree at Wits. Take us through that process, actually through that article, what was going through your mind when you wrote it, and what are the details?
Yeah. It's still a bit oof. Thanks. It's still a bit touch and go for me, having conversations and sort of sharing my experience. And I think the article was sort of one step towards liberating myself from what I chained myself into, which is failure. So in the article, honestly speaking, here's the thing about writing. You start, or with my writing anyway, I started off with a particular idea. I started off wanting to inspire the world. But then I ended up talking about failure, and I recognized so many things about the process of failure. Then I ended up talking about generational wealth, generational blessings, so it became its own little thing. So yeah, it's taken me a while. It's taken me a while to get to the other side. But by the grace of God and by so many intentional steps that have been taken and particular people being placed on my path, I was able to finish what I started. The article, like I said, was just the beginning of me wanting to open up about it. And so, yeah, my academic journey was very, very tumultuous. The fact that I can even use that word, come on now. I was very tumultuous. It was very difficult. I did not feel that I had the stuff to make it through university, which, if you think about it, is at complete odds with how I grew up. Because I grew up with things at my disposal. I grew up a little bit spoiled, if you will. But things took a turn for the worst after my dad died. And so my being able to get to varsity was also just an uphill battle. But shout out to my grandma. She really wanted me to continue with my education and just have a better life. But as soon as I got to the institution, guys, I got to the institution, I recognized the people that were around me. I saw that the girl that I was sitting next to was driving a Mini Cooper when I'm still looking for res. I was just the dynamics have shifted. This is not some high school Mickey Mouse production. This is a real thing. And so I improvised, hey. The first 2 years of varsity, I improvised. Third year, I was academically and financially excluded. I came back. I continued to improvise. Guys, even just thinking about it, I'm just how? I improvised. And at some point, I just gave up. I think around 2016, 2017, I was actually, you know what? F this, I'm done. I'm liberated. Yeah, now I'm an artist. I don't need the papers, to get my things done.
Mark Zuckerberg, who dropped out of varsity and they're billionaires.
There are a bunch of dropouts who did this thing. Yeah, I'm gonna freelance. And honestly, then I was okay, let me podcast. You know what I mean? Let me get into the habit of understanding what is a retainer, what is freelancing. I don't need this paper.
Come to Bro Creative.
You know what I mean? So around 2016, I was no, I'm done with this. And I stopped going to school for a while. So about 4 to 5 years, I'm doing a couple of corporate gigs, digital marketing agencies. I did social media management across a couple of industries. But, there's a song by 𝘁𝘂𝗺𝘂𝗆𝘁𝗄, Sent from Heaven. You know the song?
Are you saying that?
The one you believe in your heart is sent from.
Yeah, I got it hard.
So I hate to be this person, but I feel my current partner, the guy that I'm dating, shout out, he was very much bro, finish what you started, get your degree. And it was met, in fact, it even took me a while to it took me a while to even admit that I hadn't accomplished this thing, because Wits is all over my social media profiles. It's on LinkedIn, it's on Twitter, it's on Facebook. So there's an assumption that she graduated. But the ugliness of the matter is that I hadn't graduated. And so in a moment of sort of vulnerability, but in a moment of truth also, I admitted to my partner that I hadn't graduated. And I was so afraid when I was sharing that, because nobody wants to speak openly about their failures, because nobody wants to be judged.
If mic in the hand, oh, it's fine. I wasn't seeing the mic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I go?
Nobody wants to be judged.
Nobody wants to be judged. You know? Nobody wants to be judged. But I was met with a lot of grace, and he was just like, yo, get it together. Get your degree. Like, what do you mean?
Get your shit together.
Shit together, girl. And I was like, oh, okay.
That is so dope, bro. Like, getting somebody who will actually make you realize, bro, like, why aren't you doing
exactly? You know what I mean? But I think, sorry, and I feel it's important for me to mention this. So obviously my family knows, because we didn't have the huge graduation celebration, my family is aware that, no, man, our child went to university, money was spent on res, etc., 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 but she didn't graduate. But I think it was difficult for them to also come up to me and want to find out, but girl, why did you not graduate? Because I was also just sort of responding from a place of hurt, and I never wanted to get into why I never did it, because I felt like a failure. So I don't want it to seem like, oh my God, my family is just not like aware of what I'm doing. But I think it's a difficult thing to negotiate in your family, when it's something that you feel so sensitive about. But I think everything happens for a reason, and I think, you know, God's timing is so perfect.
Yeah.